Thousands of years ago, parents didn't have parenting books. No baby monitors, no strollers, no parenting experts standing by with advice. And yet, somehow, they raised children who survived, who thrived, who eventually built civilization. So, what did ancient parents know that modern parents quietly forgot? Today, we're going to uncover it, one piece at a time. And trust me, the first one alone is going to surprise you. Picture a mother in an ancient village. She's walking for hours, her baby tied against her body with a strip of cloth. She's gathering food, talking with another woman beside her, moving through her day like it's nothing unusual at all. And her baby never leaves her side. Her heartbeat and her baby's heartbeat are practically in sync, rising and falling with the same rhythm. There's no crib waiting somewhere else, no separate room, no quiet nursery down the hall. So why would she do this instead of just setting her baby down to rest? Because human babies, scientists have found, are born unusually unfinished compared to almost any other mammal on Earth. Our brains are so large that if pregnancy lasted much longer, birth would become dangerous for both mother and child. So infants arrive into the world needing an environment that's almost as close to the womb as possible. Constant physical contact gives them exactly that feeling. Researchers say skin-to-skin care, sometimes called kangaroo care, can help regulate a newborn's heartbeat, breathing, and body temperature. Touch isn't just comfort. For a tiny baby, it's their whole body's sense of balance. And that's the first answer right there. We forgot constant, uninterrupted physical contact, the kind that once kept a baby's entire nervous system steady and regulated. But this was only the beginning. Because if one exhausted mother had to carry all of that alone every single day, every single hour, something else had to be happening behind the scenes. Picture that same village later in the day. The mother hands her baby to her own mother, or to an aunt, or to a close friend, and she goes off to rest or to work. The baby doesn't cry because this face is just as familiar as her own. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer societies have documented something called cooperative caregiving, where a baby's care doesn't fall on one exhausted parent, but on an entire network of trusted adults. Researchers call these extra caregivers alloparents. In many traditional societies, a baby might be held by 10, 15, even 20 different loving adults within just the first few months of life. But the real surprise was still coming. For a long time, researchers assumed babies needed one primary bond above everything else, that too many caregivers might actually confuse a child. Newer studies flip that idea completely. When multiple trusted adults respond warmly and consistently to a baby, that baby can form several secure attachments at once. Scientists have found that a baby's stress hormone, cortisol, tends to drop simply because a trusted adult is nearby, even if that adult isn't the mother. Researchers call this social buffering. A baby's nervous system isn't just calmed by comfort, it's calmed by company. So here's the second forgotten lesson. We started raising kids in isolation, one tired parent at a time, even though the human brain was actually built to feel calm around a whole community of familiar faces. But here's where the story takes a strange turn. Because if there was this much closeness, this much supervision, how did kids end up with so much freedom, too? Picture a 5-year-old near a river, climbing rocks, balancing on a fallen log, wandering just far enough to feel like an explorer, with no adult standing directly over them. Every step comes with a real chance of falling, and yet nobody rushes over to stop it. By today's standards, this looks almost reckless. So why did ancient parents allow this kind of freedom? Researchers studying what's called risky play have found something genuinely surprising. Kids who engage in physically challenging, somewhat risky activities, climbing, balancing, exploring unfamiliar terrain, often show better emotional regulation and lower anxiety later in life. Psychologist Peter Gray has proposed a theory that risky play lets children practice managing fear in small, manageable doses, building the confidence they'll need for much bigger fears down the road. That doesn't mean danger itself is good for kids. It means the freedom to test their own limits inside a much larger safety net might serve a developmental purpose we're only beginning to understand. And here's the twist nobody saw coming. That child wasn't actually alone. Ancient kids were usually surrounded by other children, older siblings, cousins, a watching village full of familiar adults. The whole community was quietly building layer after layer of protection around them. That freedom wasn't neglect, it was safety, just spread across many eyes instead of one. And that's the third forgotten lesson. We forgot to give kids the safe freedom to explore the world with their own hands and feet. But there's still one question left unanswered. If an entire community was raising this child, when did that bond actually begin? The answer turns out to be earlier than you'd ever think. A pregnant woman speaks softly to her belly. She hums. She talks with the people around her. And somewhere inside, in the dark, someone is already listening. Studies on newborn behavior have found that babies show a clear preference for their mother's voice, and even for specific stories or songs heard repeatedly before birth. That bond doesn't start at birth. It starts earlier, in sound, in rhythm, in the slow music of a mother's voice, traveling through fluid and bone. But after birth, out in the world, something even more surprising begins. Picture a caregiver sitting face-to-face with an infant, watching the baby's face light up in response. It looks so simple. So why does something this small matter this much? Developmental psychologists call this serve and return interaction. The caregiver responds, the baby responds back, and the exchange builds. Researchers believe this back and forth may help shape the neural wiring behind language, emotional regulation, and social understanding. Eye contact isn't some small, sentimental detail. It might be one of the earliest forms of learning a human ever experiences. And that's the fourth forgotten lesson. Bonding begins before birth and deepens through real face-to-face connection. So far, we've uncovered 4 big answers, but there's one last piece left, and it might be the most overlooked of all. In the world of ancient parenting, there was no swing that rocked itself, no screen to hold a baby's attention, no white noise machine faking comfort. Everything a baby experienced came from an actual, living person. Was that a disadvantage? Or was it, somehow, exactly what a developing brain needed? Some researchers suggest intense, artificial sensory input, especially for very young children, doesn't always match what a developing nervous system is naturally built to handle. That's still just a hypothesis, not a settled fact. But maybe what looks old-fashioned, slow caregiving, quiet moments, unhurried attention, wasn't a limitation of ancient life at all. Maybe it was exactly matched to what a young, developing brain needed most. And that's the 5th forgotten lesson. We forgot slow, human, unhurried presence. None of this means ancient parenting was some kind of lost paradise. Life was hard, and infant mortality was tragically high. Modern parenting has given kids safety, health, and opportunity that ancient parents could never have imagined. This isn't a story about which era got it right. It's a story about what both eras can still teach each other. Touch, community, safe freedom, bonding before birth, and slow presence don't feel like 5 separate facts anymore. They feel like pieces of the same story. For millions of years, something in that pattern helped human beings survive long enough to become who we are today. The real question is how much of this is still worth bringing back? Out of these 5 forgotten habits, which one surprised you the most? And I'd love to know a little about who's watching this with you. What's your little one's name, and how old are they right now? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one.